The singularity is inevitable. There is no escape, no hope.
All right, guys. So, very recently, as in yesterday, I took our good friend Rick Gavigan to go see the Kings of Leon. Is that how you say the band's name?
I thought it was Leon, but okay.
It's Kings of Leon. I thought it was Kings of Leon for many a year. I was telling my therapist, who I see via Skype, I'm like, I need to do something for myself. She's like, that's so good. What are you going to go do? And I went for a long tangent about how I'm going to go see Kings of Leon. And she stopped me, like, angry. She's like, why do you keep saying Kings of Leon? It's Kings of Leon. I've been a huge fan of theirs for years, and I had no idea how to actually pronounce their name.
Have you ever listened to the radio before in the last 10 years?
I thought so. I'm clearly hearing their name incorrectly. Even when I get to the concert, I'm like, no, she's wrong. Leon must be some, like, small town in Tennessee where they're from. And they just pronounce it differently. Like we say Rodeo Drive, and it's Rodeo in Los Angeles. So like that's got to be it.
Or it's just like you don't want to admit it's some basic alternative bands. You're trying to make it sound super fancy, like Kings of Leon. Like,
yeah. You're getting the two bands confused. There are two bands. There's the Kings of Leon from
Yeah,
France.
I'm into the cool band, Kings of Leon.
Yeah, they're French.
It plays really alt Southern rock.
Yes.
Or my new theory is that it's an inherited trait, because my mother is a huge fan of a 70s glam rock artist by the name of David Bowie, and you cannot correct her to save my life or her life or anyone's life that it's David Bowie. She's like, no, Bowie. David Bowie. She says in the movie, like, look, it's David Bowie. I just love David Bowie.
David Bowie, the man who invented the Bowie knife.
That would be great if that's one more thing he did. I think my mother also thinks that's what it was.
Did this change your opinion on their songs? Like when you heard their songs afterwards, were you like, I'm not so sure these are bangers anymore?
I mean, they're all bangers. It's a great band, but it really worries me that I thought it was Kings of Leon.
Yeah.
For all these years, I'm telling God knows how many people, and via Skype, my therapist, the only time she's ever gotten mad at me, she's like, why do you keep saying Kings of Leon? It's Kings of Leon. You've been talking about this for weeks. It's Kings of Leon. I'm like, oh.
You kept trying to invite us all to this band that you didn't even know how to say their name. Yeah.
And I lectured you guys about how they had more good songs than just Sex on Fire. If that's even the name of their song, I don't know what I know.
I don't know what they're saying. I thought he was saying the sex is on fire, but I didn't hear lyrics correctly.
Anyways,
you'll have to come watch Coheed and Cambria.
They're probably great. And they're like, who are these guys? That's not who I've heard of.
Yeah. It's Zaggy Stardust.
Welcome to the first ever Paleeatchee-Cast. Yeah. My name is Jeremy Bassett. If you were sitting us and watching us, you would see that to the right of me is Mr.
David Snow.
To the left of me,
Eric Prochnau.
Today we're going to be talking about something very, very important. Whether we're all going to be stuck inside for the rest of our lives. I went to go see Kings of Leon yesterday. It was the first time seeing a live band in almost 2 years because of the big thing nobody likes to talk about. And I've been wondering for a long time, is the future just going to be people stuck inside? Or what is the future?
But wait, what do we not like to talk about?
It starts with a C and ends with an Ovid. Covid? Is that how it's pronounced?
COVID-19?
I don't know. Everyone's still talking about
COVID-19.
Coffin-19.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That sounds like something you'd buy at Whole Foods.
Coffin-19.
It's a good beer. Yeah. It's a good
Coffin
beer.
1 through 18 is not going to help, but Coffin-19 is going to be it.
Yeah.
But think about this. I saw a therapist. I've been seeing for months. You should all go do it via Skype from home. She doesn't know if she's going to see regular people again in person. They're saying soon you might just get scanned and doctors will be like, oh, you've got a urinary tract infection. You've got kidney stones.
That'd be ideal.
What if they just scanned you and were just like, you got depression?
It's a good guess.
Yeah, it's a good guess.
Here's the other thing, though. I thought I was depressed. Apparently, no. I have anxiety, which is not the same thing. I learned that by just sitting at home and reading things online and talking to therapists via my computer.
Interesting.
Do you think learning about this stuff is gonna keep people at home? They learn a lot more about themselves, that maybe they have anxiety that they didn't realize they had.
But this is interesting. I also found out, but I've been seeing therapists for a long time, and I also in like the last few weeks, my therapist pointed out, like, oh, I think you have some anxiety.
Yeah, it's not the
And
same thing.
That's insane.
If you're not
I've never
apparently if
thought
you're
so.
not trying to actively kill yourself, you're not crying all the time. Chances are you have anxiety. It can also be treated by the same medications, but it's not the same thing.
What is the medication? Beer and weed?
That's going to help. People are self-medicating. But that's the other thing about this.
You're dead on.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
are dead on.
People are self-medicating. How is this going to affect people's minds? Let's go over the very basics here. The big thing happened. No one likes to talk about it. We're all bored and angry about hearing about COVID. COVID-18, which is what I think I always thought it was. People have been stuck at home for a long time. They now do not go to movies as much because it can get streamed directly to their TV.
They're drinking more, probably.
They're not going to comedy shows. People are shitting on them, but they're Zoom comedy shows. People are going to concerts. Kings of Leon had a lot of seats sold, but not all of them. Because some people now can be like, I'm just going to wait for the online show where they're doing a show just for the internet. They're kind of like, yeah, maybe I'll go see people, maybe I won't. So more and more people are just stuck at home. Here's the second part of this. It's not as fun to be in your house doing this. So going to a concert is great. The big thing that people talking about now is virtual reality or augmented reality or mixed reality, kind of immersive technology. Does it change even more if you're like, I'm going to put a thing on my head and it feels like I'm at the concert even though I'm sitting on my sofa?
No, because in my opinion, no. Because I just got an Oculus Quest, and those things are awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, the game, the mechanics, everything's awesome.
Are they paying you to say this? By the way?
No, they are not paying
People
me.
love
but,
this.
But Oculus, I love the
We
product.
will be paid to do it if you want to give us money.
That being said, though, I'm going on that Coheed and Cambria cruise to see them perform every night. I would not want to watch a concert just via headset. I wouldn't want to do that, So there's a lot of events that are going to be taking place, like stand-up comedy, for instance. I don't think I could see myself being like, oh, we're all doing stand-up together, but we're in our own places, just wearing VR headsets.
Okay, here's the second thing to think about. With the technology now, I get that. But if it's just like you're in the Matrix, it all seems real, what stops people
It's
from being
picture
like,
perfect.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is as good as reality?
Well, I will say this: the tech is not even close just yet, but it's getting closer and closer as we speak. So I can see the anxiety of that.
Here's the thing: virtual reality to me, it's just like when the internet first came out. It's like you want to see a naked lady, which is what probably a lot of us said. It's just like this slow screen slowly appearing, but eventually it's porn. You know what else is also in porn right now? Virtual reality.
Well, okay, so this is
and it's looking decent now.
This is an important point because porn always leads the way on technological innovations. It's the reason that VHS was chosen over Betamax. It's the reason Blu-ray won over HD DVD. So whatever porn picks for their, and I don't know anything about virtual reality, but whatever they pick for their virtual reality avenue, that's where the media is going to trend.
Now think about this. We're all perverts. Let's admit that right now.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be which virtual reality, as long as they choose virtual reality. Now, if you want to just watch a movie of someone having sex, or if you want to be like in the room, why wouldn't you start doing that all the time with porn, just using virtual reality?
Good point.
Yeah, that's.
And then you go, well, I could go out to the concert in real life, or I could be in an orgy in ancient Rome through using virtual reality. Who would be able to be torn away from that? As great as Kings of Leon is.
There's, I hear about people that just sit in their rooms all day with VR. I'm like, well, what game are you playing? Because I can only do like 10 minutes of this, like, it's like a frisbee golf / basketball game, and I have to take the headset off because my head's about to explode. It looks great, but it's like everything's too immersive, and it's like I need to feel steady ground again.
Okay, here's even another thing. I think it's interesting that they're playing tennis, because most of the time in this video game, someone's in a war game. That's it's like all video games are virtual reality. It's like I get to go to another reality. I get to create or choose. Why do people want to go to a reality that's even worse than this? It's like the Matrix. It makes an offhand remark. It's like we try to give you paradise, but instead you wanted the shitty apex of human existence.
Well, wait. So you guys have heard about this whole thing that people talk about now that maybe we're living in a simulation?
Yeah.
Maybe this is a simulation.
I watched
right?
that documentary.
I haven't
Glitch
seen
in the Matrix.
I haven't seen that yet, but I
Check
saw
it
it
out.
on the queue.
Check it out.
That's cool. Okay. I'm gonna watch it now because I think it's an interesting idea that we could be in a simulation. So that means when we put on virtual reality, we are a simulation in a simulation. I think it's pretty fucking meta down the rabbit hole.
We're all Leonardo DiCaprio.
But that means those
It's
are
a
two
dream
opposite
too.
things.
Yes.
But either way, presumably, if this is a simulation, then the world outside of this is probably better. So that means that we just keep putting ourselves in worse and worse situations.
Yeah,
that we
life gets
immerse
too
ourselves
easy
in.
for the people in the future who are playing us as non-playable characters, and they're like, "Oh, look at these weird people in 2021 having to deal with COVID." I feel like the video game is like, how do you persuade people to not be crazy?
Oh yeah, especially right now, like fake news. What's real? What's not? How do you convince them of your point?
It's just everything's too convenient as well. Everything is so convenient, and that's like the real issue. And like so,
And again, you won't have to go to a doctor. The doctor will have a thing. And he just
Yeah.
scans you. It's like, you don't have to come here and get your proctology exam.
No,
You've
that's
got the
A
thing.
dream come true.
that's a plus though.
Yeah,
that's a
that
giant
is.
plus.
Absolutely, because I'm the paranoid motherfucker that my game plan as I get older and have the financial resources to do so in this fucking country where healthcare sucks. I am the kind of person who wants to go to the doctor once a year and be like, do all of the tests, every single one you can think of, because I want to catch that cancer early or that stroke that's coming in or whatever it is, and do that maybe twice a year, maybe every 6 months. Get a full scan. Let's get everything. Fucking check my oil. Put the dipstick in.
Okay,
Let's do it.
let me add to this. What else don't you want to do? You want to travel the world? Sure, that'd be great. You want to get an airplane with annoying people, or you can do virtual reality and just go there and just sit right here on your sofa where it's nice and safe. You want to go to a concert? That's annoying. You got to find parking. It's expensive. Well, put on the goggles and just go there.
Okay, but counterpoint. This is assuming that our senses that are most important to our experience is sight and sound, because that's what virtual reality can replicate.
Yeah.
But we still don't replicate tactile sensations. We don't replicate, olfactory senses, and we don't replicate like a taste. I mean, I guess you could eat something while you're wearing the virtual reality, and you ordered spaghetti, and then you think you're in Italy or something. But
that's a mixture then
that's
at that point.
it's a mixture. So you're not like having the full experience. The full experience is all these other sensations.
We'll up the stakes even more in this conversation.
Okay.
Elon Musk wants to put a chip in your
Yes.
brain to make you access things. If they can make your brain think that you're tasting a delicious filet mignon, what's to say it's not really tasting it?
Well, at a certain point, if you're simulating everything in life, then what's the difference between a real experience and a simulated experience? And do you want to live life, or do you want to live a bunch of simulations?
Yeah, it's just playing the same campaign mode over and over and over again of Call of Duty.
Do you think there's then
It's
going to
like-
become like the Amish of the society? 'Cause I think most people would be like, let me just try it and then get into it.
Sure.
Plenty of people are like, I don't want to go into a movie theater and see a train coming at me in black and white. I'm going to go to the live theater. But it gets better and better, and people start showing up more and more.
Well, what's crazy too is
Sure.
with the Oculus, it was bought by Facebook. So Facebook owns Oculus, and so in order to even use the Oculus,
My condition is spreading to you. And like, I use the Oculus. What? It's the
Oculus Quest. Yes, and so you have to, in order to use it, you have to make a Facebook account. You have to have Facebook, and so it's taking this whole other social media.
Fuck Mark Zuckerberg.
He's
It's-
listening right now.
It's taking this whole other element, which is social media, which is its own type of people meeting and congregating, and bringing it into the VR world, which we're talking about now. So it's like, now you could be going to concerts with people you've never actually met in real life, and you feel like you're just standing next to them now, and like as if you've been buddies for life.
If you can meet someone on Instant Messenger, plenty of kids say when we start getting on the internet, what's to stop you from meeting someone in the virtual reality world and then being like, this is just as good?
Well, okay. So then the question becomes also, what of these technologies have lasting future consequences and potential, and what are fly-by-night things? Because so many things in the past, so many technologies didn't pan out, didn't do anything, and then other ones did, right? Like, you used to go to a movie theater, and there was all these kinds of experiments where, like the tingler, you ever hear of the tingler,
Smell-o-vision,
right?
yeah.
And smell-o-vision and these things, which are kind of interesting novelty gimmicks. I think a lot of them were like that William Castle gentleman who, I think it's interesting that he's experimenting with those things. But, outside of the novelty of the experience, it's not like all of a sudden they decided to start making smell-o-vision for every single movie experience. People were like, no, we don't want to do that. So what of these things do you think are actually going to forge into the future, and what will be left behind?
I think human psychology is that people want to forget their problems and escape from things. We all do it
Sure.
in big and small ways, and that's why I keep going. Eventually, especially younger people now who grow up with it, they go, "Why should I go outside to begin with?" More and more young people live their lives online. If you plug it in and it looks real enough, it smells real enough, what's to stop that from being a new reality? Plenty of people have lost their lives watching TV. That's a little screen where you don't get to interact with those people. You put on the thing and you're in this new world. What's going to stop you?
And now you can also just buy things also in this world. It's like it's like going to Amazon.com. But you're wearing a
You
headset.
can go to stores.
I'm sure there's a way you could probably go to a store and it makes you feel like you're walking through the aisles and it's connected to your Visa or it's connected to your Coinbase wallet or something, and it takes.
You find your girlfriend now. I know you two are the only exceptions in my social group where that didn't happen. But most people meet their significant other online. Now let's fast forward into a world where it's virtual reality is a common thing. What's to stop people from stopping having sex? A la Demolition Man. There's that scene where he's like, "Oh, yeah, let's do it." And Sandra Bullock's like, "Ugh, gross, Sylvester Stallone. We're going to do this through virtual reality," because that became the norm then.
I love that. And in fact, I've got a friend of mine who, as a commitment to that movie and a particular bit, he has 3 seashells on the back of his toilet, and he puts it everywhere he lives. He has that because at some point when they're having sex, or before they do, I don't remember in the scene, she is trying to figure out how to use the bathroom. He's like, "What? You don't use the 3 seashell method?"
Sooner or later, you're going to have a virtual reality way to wipe your butt. And here's the thing. They're having sex. He takes the mask off, not because it's bad, because it's so intense he can't deal with
How
it.
are we going to virtually wipe our butt, though? Because we still have our real butt with real
They're going to
food.
make the robots do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's what
Okay.
the
So
robots
the AI will come in and know that you
Yeah.
just pooped.
Yeah.
Okay. There
yeah,
we go.
Totally.
100%.
Or
So-
it'll just suck the poop out of you, so you don't have to poop anymore.
It's just
There's going to be an
evaporate.
eye
It's just
diaper.
gonna
It's just going to be around your crotch, taking care of every possible
diaper?
need.
Yeah, eye colonoscopy.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the colorectal. It'll do everything. It'll check you for cancer and take the shit out of you.
It'll zap your poop.
Yeah.
It'll zap your poop out.
The
there
shit
we go.
zapper.
The shit zapper.
Poop zapper.
Hey, this does not leave the podcast. Keep that idea in the bank.
Eye
Shit
diaper's
zapper.
great, or is it
Okay. Yeah.
shit zapper?
Yeah,
Shit
eye
zapper.
shit.
I shit.
Okay.
I shit no more.
Because you guys are in relationships. You can go and do a virtual reality sex with your wife. Would you do it? Second question. Let's say you're doing it for a while. Would you do it like a setting where it's like, well, now I look like Brad Pitt and she looks like Angelina Jolie? Because you can change any aspect of reality. You're not really cheating. Where do you draw
That's
the
where
line?
it gets a little hairy. I feel like that's a little hairy at that point. I mean, I know, but then again, I know a lot of people like to wear masks. Like they have their fetishes where they wear masks and stuff like that. So I don't know where that falls, but yeah, I don't know. I couldn't.
20 years of marriage. Come on. Gotta try something new. Let's be different people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
You
fun
use
to
fake
try.
names and put on outfits and meet someone at the bar. Why not do it in the virtual world? He's already sold. Eric's thinking about it.
Well, look. This is how I feel. Is that it's like you watch.
Eric,
porn,
remember
right?
it's connected to Facebook too, so they will have access
That's
to all
okay.
your
That's
stuff.
scary. And then they're going to sell to
Yeah.
you sex toys and things
Yeah.
based on your preferences.
Here's the other
That's
thing.
true.
Elon Musk wants to put a chip in your brain. What's stopping a company from literally looking in your mind, seeing what you want? Also, what stops your jealous girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife being like, I don't just want to see your text message. I want to see inside your
I want
thoughts.
to see your VR headset.
Or sneaking in there. It's possible as soon as you put a thing in your head.
Well, if that's what it is, then this is an idea I'm going to credit him because this is not from me. My friend Ryan Buck, he's got this theory that we should start charging these companies rent for space in our head because they advertise so much to us. We end up thinking about these products and things that are not our own all of the time. So if it gets to that, that's what it should be. Be like, I'm a fucking landlord, and if you're going to sell to me that way, then you got to pay me.
Sounds like a meme. If you're going to live inside my head, you better pay rent or something.
Yeah.
I mean, the way the world is moving, that is not the crazy astounding thing at all. I mean, we're moving away. It's like, with the currency stuff, to the cryptocurrencies, like, everyone's taking it on to their own person. They're like, I want to be my own bank. So it's like, yeah, if you're going to rent space from me, like metaphorically, like in my head, I'm going to charge you for it. I'm essentially charged like a therapist, kind of like,
like a therapist for Coca-Cola.
You know
Yeah.
what? The U.S. government's eventually going to sue these companies, and we're all going to be part of a massive lawsuit. We're going to get money back for everything they've done. We're going to get a check for $13.52.
Yeah, probably. And they'll call it universal basic income.
Yeah. Yep.
For $13.52.
Hey, well, it'll be a very nice movie that I go and watch with that $13.
Yeah, right. No, you won't be able to afford
I can't
a movie
afford a
ticket
movie.
at that
Yeah,
point.
no,
Yeah.
they're $20 now. So.
Yeah, but you'll be able to watch it from your home
In my
virtual reality.
in
virtual
VR.
reality.
So that's the one thing about the VR headset that I have not watched a movie in it yet. So I'm curious if you can have a setting where it's like I'm gonna turn around and see something completely different.
Because virtual reality now is
That's
still like what movies were
like a
when they
first-
first came out, where it's like, I just want to see a train coming at me. But eventually those stories have to get better. So at some point, it's going to be like Total Recall, where you go on an adventure that looks and feels real.
Like
You
I want to
can't
watch
tell
the
it's
train
different.
go past me.
But it'd
Like
be
that kind of
rad
thing.
to be able to walk around in that world and be like, I don't care what Arnold Schwarzenegger's doing over there. I'm gonna go look at the three boobed lady and follow her around for a while.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna
whatever.
watch Titanic over and over.
Yeah.
And just watch Titanic.
But just
over and
swim to
over.
the bottom of the
Yeah.
ocean so you can
Just-
see what happens to Jack's body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You
hilarious.
don't want to save the world. You're like, nah, screw it.
No, I just want to see what
I
happens.
want to get my own look at this painting. I want to get a closer look at this painting. You know what I mean? It's a
Funny that you mentioned paintings, because we're still talking about art and how people experience the world. Now, my new
I
favorite
love
thing,
paintings.
you love a good
I
painting.
love a good painting.
You
Me too.
now online, we can talk about virtual reality. Things are not real. You're still seeing a thing. You're having an experience. There's now something that's becoming very popular called NFTs, which stands for non-fungible tokens. Sounds very bland, but it's in a lot of different ways. It's just artwork that you can see online and buy. Here's the catch, though: you do not physically own it or see it in person. It's just on your screen.
I don't get it. It's too weird to me. Cryptocurrency makes sense, but the NFT concept, that's fucking.
And it's made more money than all the cryptocurrency.
Here's where I think it becomes
weird.
weird. You can theoretically, if we all end up in some matrix situation, we're in a VR set most of our day. What's to stop you from going around and seeing some painting that only exists online at like an art museum that way?
Or what about this? Let me phrase it this way: what's to stop somebody that because you can use OpenSea. There's a lot of these things where you can put anything up there as an NFT, anything. Just a picture that you took on your phone that you could sell for Ether, on OpenSea or whatever. Who's to stop someone from being like, this is my soul, and I'm selling my soul for this, and then so someone actually has the right to.
I think people have done that online.
Interesting. Well, that's disturbing.
People are
How
going
many
to judge
times
it.
can you sell your soul?
Yeah, because you get, and then anytime someone else would sell your soul after that, if they ever
Yeah.
want to sell
Can you earn it
you
back?
you get a commission.
Is it?
The person who
Does
sold
God
their soul,
accept cryptocurrency?
the person
or
who sold their soul gets a
blockchain?
I
commission.
think we just came up with a movie.
Yeah.
Actually, that right there is a plot. He sold his soul 50 times, but now for some
He's
reason
rich
he's
as
got them
hell.
all. He's got to go track all these people down he sold it to and get it back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah,
It's like Broken Flowers, that Bill Murray movie where he's going to his ex-girlfriends and finding out kind of what happened. He can do the same thing, but for his soul. Yeah.
Let's see that.
Sounds like a feel-good movie,
Yeah.
actually.
I'd watch it.
Yeah,
Especially if we made it, I'd watch it
In virtual reality.
in VR. Yeah, I'd pay full ticket price.
Okay,
Even though if we made it, I wouldn't.
you
No,
don't-
I'd pay it because just to support us. If we
Yeah,
made it,
we're the only people watching it in the
Yeah.
virtual world.
But like,
How-
You fucking pirate it.
That
There's
was
only
it.
2 other people who watch it.
Have you seen any NFT art online?
Yeah, a little bit. Most of it's made by this one artist. Or it seems like the big.
Is
There's a
big
couple.
guy.
Beeple_crap. Have you looked at his artwork?
That's the guy's name.
Pull up your phone and look at it because he is. It's on Instagram. If you're at home, look
He's
it up.
talented. The art I saw is good art.
It's really good.
It's
I will
just-
say this:
You know.
the number one thing he sold for is a collage of his different photos for $69 million at Christie's. And he sold other stuff for a lot of money too. If you want to judge this guy, look at his artwork. He is talented. He was a graphic designer before for big companies. He's a professional. He just told himself he's going to make a new graphic design art project each day and started posting it on Instagram and got a following of about 2 million people. So he did everything. It's not like he isn't talented. It's not like he just won the lottery. He made a name for himself. What's interesting to me, because there's a lot of NFT art is the same theme, it's a lot of either two things. It's like this kind of like cyberpunk dystopian look at the future, which we may very well be going towards. Or with him, the one thing he kind of distinguished himself, he does like pop culture satirical images of like you're looking at right now, Homer Simpson in some trees, becoming just a part of the plant life. Like, it's interesting stuff.
It's good art, and you know what? I won't.
But it only exists online.
I would never. Um, this is the thing. This is a guy who's taking advantage of the situation, right, to make a bunch of money off of his art. I have no problem with him. Good for him.
Yeah.
He's an artist. It's hard enough for artists to make money, and now he's become wealthy from selling his art in this fashion. Fantastic. Good on him. And any artist who does it. But as a trend, as a thing that happens in the world and continues to happen, I don't get that.
He's a hype beast, it seems like. So it's like one of those things where what happens after, because there will always be
He lives in a tropical island with
of
or without
course.
virtual
Oh,
reality.
yeah. But there's only gonna be so many of these types of artists that can, you know what I mean? Like, let's be real. How many artists could make a killing in the NFT market? At least early on. Like, right now it's just there's these couple artists that make their drops for, you gotta spend an ether, and sometimes you don't even know what you're getting. You're getting a random NFT drop, and it's worth less than what you paid for. So sometimes it's just like,
Well, do you know, is there a lot of work to turn, like, if he makes a piece of art,
right.
okay, you make it digitally, I assume you can make any piece of art, take a picture of it, or
There are
whatever.
websites you can look up where you can make
Yeah, how do
NFT.
you-
It's
Is
called
it-
Open. There's a website called OpenSea. Literally,
Okay.
just any file on your computer, you can upload that file as like. So if you have a picture on there, put that on OpenSea and see how much someone will buy it for.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So it's one of those.
Right.
It's
Try to
so
sell some artwork.
it's so easy, but there's such hype around NFTs right now. So it's like I'm just curious, because they say the NFT market has made more than like I forget what the exact statement was, but more than like the Bitcoin market or something like that. It's an insane amount of money. And it's like, all right, is this all art going to move into this direction?
People_crap is now the #3 top selling living artist in the world.
So do you think all art's going into that direction then, Jeremy?
I'm like Eric, actually. I don't understand why you would buy something you don't physically own.
Right.
But I also know this. The one thing I will say is, like, you never want to be the person who's like, I don't get this new kind of art. What is this rock and roll? What is this rap music?
Right.
Totally.
You don't want to
That's
miss
why I
out.
never want to judge this stuff too much. I want to do my research and try and understand it. I don't understand this still, even though people_crap and the other people do this stuff online. You look it on like Instagram, there's a bunch of different sites you can look at this stuff. It is interesting artwork. And I think it's also interesting that these people who probably, the other thing I think about is interesting about this, they fetishize the cyberpunk
Yes.
future of the world.
Mm. Which, that's an interesting thing, because cyberpunk as a genre was really big in the 80s. I think you could probably say it started, I don't know the whole history of it, probably started in the late 70s. I'm thinking like 1979 Alien, but after that a lot of them, like Blade Runner, that's 81.
Right. Ridley
82.
Scott is big.
It's
Person
right.
responsible.
Those were both Ridley Scott's. That's right. And then also influenced by books like William Gibson, as an author, wrote Neuromancer, right? And Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. And it seems like it was sort of warning of a dystopian future that was run by corporations, and we kind of have arrived at that. And it's
Right.
interesting that people do fetishize it, because it's almost like a prophecy, that like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Where people are like, oh, we're kind of enamored with this. We don't want to go in this direction, but we're kind of enamored with it, and instead we're just steering right into it. That's kind of
Which
frightening.
again, what I come back to, we're all going to be sitting on our sofas. Probably not the cool Ghost in the Shell character who's like doing X, Y, and Z, but sitting alone with our VR headset on and be like, well, I'm not lonely now. I've got my robot dog and my robot girlfriend, and I go online with my other cyber friends.
Well, okay.
Who may not even be people. You may be like, the algorithm version of a person is more enjoyable to deal with, that I can program, than dealing with a human being with all their flaws and their weird personalities who may or may not like us.
I grew up playing like gaming like online, so I was always playing with my friends like on the headset talking and stuff. But there just comes a time where I'm just like, after like like an hour of gaming or something, it's just like, all right, I can't like.
Well, so to your point, right? There will always be the hardcore people who are into that.
Yeah.
Right? I also grew up playing. I used to play. I don't play video games very much at all anymore. But growing up as a kid, I played a lot of them. And I think that there will always be the people who will play it a little bit, do it a little bit of virtual reality, but then back to reality. There'll be the people who don't touch it at all and want to just experience the world. hardcore nuts
Yeah.
who will probably. How many people are we going to see die because they didn't feed themselves because they were just stuck in virtual reality for 48 hours or 72 hours or whatever? That we're going to see that almost guaranteed. Kids have already died doing it, playing MMOs like in overseas.
Going after a Pokemon.
Just going too hard in the game, and they're grinding away, and they
Yeah.
forget to eat. And then South Park did a great thing when Cartman was. They're all playing World of
Yeah.
Warcraft, and he just calls his mom to bring the bucket down. And he's just taking a shit under the bucket.
But I hate to come back to this. We're all at that age where, like, we remember time before this. Kids now only live on social media. There's exceptions who don't. People who grow up with this, a kid, we might be like, I still prefer going outside. Someone born now, they may be like, this is the norm. I'd rather live in the virtual world.
Yeah.
Kings of Leon sounds great to them, but sitting online and going into, like, flying to the planet Saturn and listening to Kings of Leon while doing this may become the new norm.
No, those kids listen to Kings of Leon.
Leon, Kings of
The
Leon.
cool cyberpunk band that also does Southern rock, but in a cyberpunk.
In an
style.
ironic way.
Yeah.
Sounds very hipster. They all drink IPAs.
They
Speaking of which.
they all have
We're
bucket
currently
hats and
drinking
IPAs.
Some of this is a generational thing. Like, we're in our 30s, but how does someone in their 20s, like our friend Hunter, react to that? Like, it's a totally different generation that's going to experience this stuff in a totally different way, and it's going to be the norm for them.
Hunter's another member of our group who's not here right now, but yeah,
Rest in peace.
That's R.I.P. If he dies tomorrow, you're gonna feel so bad.
Oh, yeah.
Rest in South Carolina.
No, he's fine. He's a
chilling.
strapping, fit young man.
Yes, he's doing just fine.
His words. I'm sure.
But he would, he's actually someone that's really good because his roommate's really into the VR stuff, and I remember he's the one who showed me the Oculus first.
Oh.
Everett, so it's like, they're great to talk to for this kind of stuff. Because Everett, he was like king of this like zombie game already. Like he gets through the levels like it's nobody's business, and I'm just trying to like smash one zombie, and I can't.
And
It's
how
like,
old is Everett though?
he's like 20. What is he like? 24, 23?
Right, that's gonna become the norm for him.
So so for me, and me, I'm a social media guy. I'm like, hey, brand yourself. Like, go on. I'm that guy, but I still can't get to where it's like, all right, no. If the world's like, all right, we're all moving to virtual, I just don't see that connection of being able to be like, yeah, this is a satisfying
But does Everett?
life,
But does Everett question that? And I'm not saying all kids will or will not, but it's becoming more and more of a norm.
Yeah.
And we're at that generation where, like, from 100 years ago, I remember a horse and carriages. These cars started coming around. I'm like, nobody's gonna get on that. You need a good sturdy horse to get around. But I'll be goddamned if I couldn't bring my horse into town anymore because it's all these cars. We're that generation where, like, I saw the thing and it became the other thing, and I was just like, this is crazy, but okay.
I mean, it's true. It's crazy to think that, when I was in first grade, that's when the internet was first kind of, I think the internet had technically been around since before I was born even, but it seems like I can remember a time when not everybody had it.
Yeah.
And then it slowly became more and more, like, born right in that pocket where it started to take over. So you could see the change happen. So you remember before and after the world.
We all love having a car, right? That's great. The current generation, they go, I just have Uber or Lyft. Why would I want to learn how to drive? That's a huge cultural change.
I thought we were gonna have flying cars before VR and all that. I'm not gonna lie. When I was a kid, when I was young, I thought we were gonna have all this
It could
stuff.
catch up. We don't know.
Yeah, no, I know. It'd be interesting. Got Elon Musk doing his thing, but again, he's working on the VR stuff right now.
And
so-
putting a chip in your brain.
Yeah.
And first, you're going to be like, why would I want to do that? People start doing it and go, God, a smartphone is better than my flip phone. This would be nice. Think of all the things they can do. And put that chip in
I
your
was gonna
brain.
say,
And then your wife or girlfriend or whoever is spying on your literal thoughts. And that's just the new normal.
but if that chip can make me tap into like the rest of the percentage of my brain that I'm not able to use, then maybe there's like an extreme benefit. Maybe
Because
I'll be able
it
to
makes your
fly,
life easier.
you
Why
know?
would you want to go outside
Yeah.
to see a doctor when the doctor can come to you? They can
Yeah.
scan you, and the scan is also able to send little like micro whatever into your body
Yeah.
and fix the problem with you.
I mean,
At
they
first
say
you're
when
like,
you-
that's crazy, and you're like, I don't really want to go outside, and that's how the change happens.
We
And
only-
through porn. as
And we only use a
surface.
small fraction of our brain, so if this thing just opens up your entire brain, it's like, all right, now I can actually learn how to, move my arms fast enough and actually really fly. Then maybe. But if I'm just flying VR wise, it's I don't know.
You don't want to learn how to fly? That would be
I
amazing.
want to learn how to fly in real cool to do it in real life, but it gets
Second best
like I
thing,
said,
baby.
after 30
Do
minutes.
it in
and if-
virtual reality.
Again, I think it's one of those things that you're gonna have a section of the population
Yeah.
embraces, a section doesn't, and a section rallies against it. Now, to your point about phones, I was one of those people, for sure, who was a holdout to not have a cell phone until I finally got one.
I could see that.
Yeah, I was a
I could
holdout.
see that, Eric.
And then I held out on my flip phone for a long time until it shifted. But the big shift is when you start seeing everybody have it, you don't necessarily go, oh, I have to have it. Where it starts being a problem is when the culture is doing it in such a way that you're left behind, where it's like, oh, well, everybody is checking their email on their phones,
Yeah.
and they expect you to be able to check your email that quickly. That if you can't check your email or do whatever for productivity's sake in the world, then you're left behind. Then you're almost forced to convert. But if virtual reality stays sort of a specialty experience situation, then you may not need to conform in that way. You know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
think so. And, I think if they keep it at a high price point, that's key. Once they
Yeah.
make this thing like $10 and everyone can just go around buying headsets like crazy.
Well, but
It's-
wait, this is an interesting point. I agree with you. But counterpoint, cell phones now are getting up to, finally in the last generation, it's like $1,000 for a cell phone.
Yeah.
Right? That's just becoming more and more of a norm. So there's also this situation where people are just getting used to paying that higher and higher price too.
This is an imperative part of their life.
Well, it's like,
Mhm.
people were even talking with using like for taking pictures for social media. Their algorithms don't show pictures that are as pristine as like the iPhone, the newest iPhone or whatever. So people want to upgrade immediately just so that they can post their pictures on social media and have their quality be that quality that the algorithm likes and all that. It's crazy. There's so many things going on through people's heads where it's like, this is how I came up with this decision, why I bought this phone, so I could do it on Instagram, so I could do TikToks. But then-
Society tells me to do it, even if society literally isn't like, hey, Larry, you need to do the thing.
Yeah, no,
Well,
it's
fuck Larry.
yeah.
I mean, Larry is an asshole. Let's all admit that. But there's always going to be Amish people out there like, I don't want technology. But that's a small little sliver of society. Everyone else is like, all right, I want the new thing.
But I could see having it happen where the world does shift and there's more extremes, especially because right now, especially in America, but dare I say the world, there are a lot of factions arising, right?
Yep.
Where you've got people who believe one thing versus another thing versus another. And it seems like before, people's point of view was a little more centrist, but now we have these pendulum swinging extremes of beliefs. So perhaps the Amish community or a group like that, an anti-technology community, looks less crazy, and it just becomes another faction. Like, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm a fucking Luddite.
Or
Like-
Oculus also partners with Parler, so then they work with Parler and Facebook, so then they
Yeah.
create their own Discord within their own
And
company.
then everyone's living in arcology,
Yeah.
which is another cyberpunk
Oh,
thing, where
yeah.
everybody's living in a pyramid arcology, right?
Yeah.
But there's different points of view, but they almost all use technology.
And then be all in
Almost
VR.
all.
Yes.
But I bet
But
you're
enough
gonna
where you can say that's like if you're be like, well, the Amish don't do this. Most people are like, I need the big screen TV, I need my smartphone, I need my social media. My parents are on social media. They're of a totally different generation. Eventually, you get sucked in whether you want. to.
Okay, but there's also kind of a gradation there. So I'm imagining my hypothesis here is the Amish community or Luddite community or whatever they're called, the group of people who eschews that technology, they're still going to make compromises. Those people are like, no, I have DVD or whatever. There's still some technology. So take the Amish, for example. It's not like they don't have any technology.
Yeah.
Wagon is a technology.
That's a good point.
They still have that shit. It's not like they're so extreme to be like, we're going to be cavemen and wear loincloths, and that's the community in Pennsylvania.
I would respect that group who's like, I'm just gonna wander the wild naked.
Hunter-gatherers.
Now,
That's what we are.
Would Mennonites be the one that would get into VR eventually then?
Oh, yeah, because they kind of, I
They're
don't
a
know
little
enough about
more-
them, but they're a little more friendly.
They like to venture off
Yeah,
a
like
little
you
bit
can have a
more.
TV, but it has to be in the barn.
Yeah.
At some point, the Amish or the Mennonites will come out for like the Rumspringa. That's where they visit technology. They're gonna see
Yeah.
everybody, and everybody's just gonna be alone in their VR sets. And they're like, we want to partake in it too. Where is everybody? Just gonna be all alone in their houses, lost in the internet.
I know, just a bunch of people masturbating on a couch or wearing
Yeah, it's just in a field,
It's
just out.
It's just like, you know, and then they're not worried about exposure anymore because
What
they're
are these
like,
English
"No,
up to? This is
this is
in
crazy."
the VR, everyone's penis is gonna look like a dragon. They're gonna have an
Yeah.
emoji for their penis. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then public indecency laws will go out the window because everyone's wearing a headset. So you can walk around with your pants off because everyone's wearing a headset and sees you as a dragon.
Here's the other thing. If you're like that and you go on a date with someone in the virtual reality world, you can choose to look however you want. It takes catfishing to a whole nother level.
Oh,
Wow.
that's a good point. Yeah.
And
So-
maybe you don't care anymore.
Yeah, so it's like you know, doing online dating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If this becomes a thing, you know, where
Someone's already using plastic surgery to change their appearance. It's not the real
Yeah.
them.
well, no, also just these filters that are on
Yeah.
Instagram that people use nonstop. I mean, I can only imagine.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's a whole-
The other part of VR is AR, which is augmented reality.
And
You
what was
see,
the
you
other?
see a Pokemon, and then it's a little hard to understand, but it's MR, which is mixed reality, where she's like kind of like you see Iron Man. He's like touching this like hologram thing and making an actual thing happen.
Okay. So that's confusing.
It is. It's
Yeah,
basically
I
augmented
get it.
reality, but where you're touching the air around you, and you would see like your car, and like I need to change my tire. So you would just take off the tire on your car as like a hologram of it, and then something else would literally take off your tire.
Like a machine would actually
Yeah.
do it.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like the-
Hybrid.
Yeah.
And again, this stuff, it's a matter of time. It's not a matter of if.
It reminds me of
keep
the
saying-
Cars ride. When you're in the Cars ride, and then you go into the little garage, and then a bunch of little machines come out and turn your car into this
Yeah.
nice hot rod.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's convenient.
Yeah. But then we also get to the point where one of the things that Cyberpunk's really warning about, seems to me at least, is capitalism gone awry because you still have to make your bread to pay your rent and all that stuff. Because if we enter a world where technology is so ubiquitous and solves everything, at a certain point, how do we assign value? And capitalism itself seems to be an archaic structure for something where people don't really have to work unless there's a structure of a system that's making them do it, right? So then we get to those conversations about like universal basic incomes and stuff in a serious way where it's like, well, what is work? Who has to do it? And how do people make money? How does that work?
Yeah.
I think it's going to end up being we each have to solve one equation, one little math equation a day. And
So we're all
then-
Bitcoin miners.
Yes, we're all
Individually.
Bitcoin miners, and that's it.
Here's the thing: it's like Star Trek. They do have money, whether you believe it or not, but because they can be like, "Oh, computer, make me the thing," and the computer makes the thing. It's like there's money, but no one needs it anymore. But it's also, if you watch that show, what are the tasks of most of the people on that ship or on Earth when science can make everything? They're just giving the whole human race busy work.
Well, 90% of them are red shirts who are cannon fodder.
Yeah.
So I guess 90% of us will be cannon fodder.
So it's like,
So
I want to
we'll
volunteer
be-
to fight for my planet. They're like,
Yeah.
all right, go die on this planet. That's what you really want.
That's
You could have
fantastic.
stayed home and played in virtual reality land on Earth or on the ship.
That's interesting because I don't know about you guys, but I struggled to like Star Trek. I'm not a Star Trek person, but I like the
Same.
idea. I love the concept. I love
Right.
to think of a utopia where everything's fixed so then you can just solve problems and explore and stuff like that. Awesome idea. But I also was under the impression that they didn't have money.
It's
So,
it depends on the show you watch. So sometimes they'd give it different names. They do have money, but there's also the point of just like, what's the point? You don't really necessarily need land.
I don't know anything about Star Trek. Just gonna throw that out there. But no, this is fine.
But you get the
I'm
basic
I'm
idea,
learning.
right?
Oh, no, I'm learning.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm learning.
they have like because like doing a Deep Space Nine, the Ferengi want like platinum. They've got these different words for it, but it's basically like points. It's basically coming back to what you guys were talking about. It's cryptocurrency.
Always comes back to crypto.
always does.
So they do have it, but there's almost no need for it because what are you really going to buy?
Interesting. So, I mean, how does that work? You know, if you need things, okay, so you don't have to pay rent because everybody's got a place to live. That's cool. How do you acquire food?
You can just be like the computer, and that shows circa next generation later. Computer, make me some coffee. They don't just make the coffee; they make the cup that's there.
Okay, but I'm assuming that if you've got a device, I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, the device that you can be like create anything. Presumably, I mean, you know, now we're getting heavy.
Let's get
matter can't be, there's that whole thing about energy. Now I'm fumbling on my words for physics, and energy and matter can't be
Inertia.
created or destroyed. That whole thing.
If it's rearranging atoms,
So-
I mean, again, it's science fiction, but it's all like technology. You could do
but
the
it's
same.
got to make it from something. Does
Yeah.
it make it out of thin air? I'm saying there's got to be some sort of it's creating like a 3D printer, right? You still put in like the plastic, the blocks of
put a mold.
material for them
Yeah.
to make it, for the mold, right? So there's still got to be
This is a
something.
question too
strong.
nerdy for me. I already know where you're going. Where they get the stuff that makes the thing out of
Yeah,
nowhere?
how do you
Yeah.
get the shit?
Like, how do you get if
Dark
it makes
matter
the
from
cup?
space. I don't know. If any nerds are listening who really know, we should ask Ethan. He would know.
No, Ethan doesn't like Star Trek either.
Ethan, really?
Ethan's not a Star Trek
No,
fan.
a surprise. Yeah, Ethan and I both actually tried to watch. We watched the biggest Star Trek movie together because he was trying a podcast where it was like, oh, people, I forget what he was calling it, but the idea was watching a movie that no one had ever seen before, kind of a thing. So him and I both, he's not a Star Trek guy. We watched Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, which is the highest, biggest touted Star Trek movie that I've always heard.
That's
At
the
least
one I've always heard
That's
of.
the big one.
Yeah.
I gotta tell
Never
you,
saw it.
I really tried to have an open mind with that movie. I really tried open-minded, and I gotta tell you, it was some of the most ridiculous shit I've ever seen.
And you have an open mind.
I
So
do.
yeah, that's saying
For
something.
those of those
Rough one.
listening, Star Trek is more of a TV show. You want to start with Next Generation, go to Deep Space Nine. But if you have to watch a movie, don't watch Wrath of Khan, even though it's fine. You watch Star Trek 4, A Voyage Home, which is better known as the Whale one.
I was gonna say, is that the whale one? Because I always hear about the whale one.
The Whale one is based, believe it or not, an actual science where you could time travel if you slingshot around the sun if you calculate it right. And theoretically, something could happen to the whales. And the big thing that starts the movie is that an alien probe, there's nobody in there that it can communicate with, comes from some faraway part of the galaxy they haven't explored. It's like, hey, where are the whales? We want to talk to the whales. And no one's answering back. And just the way that they're sending these messages in the ocean is screwing up all the electronics. In Star Trek, everything's based off of electronics and their technology. And that's screwing everything up and killing all of them because they've gotten to a point where they live totally off of technology. And a random probe that's well-meaning, it's like, hey, what whales? We used to talk to you. Where are you? And they're screwing up all the electronics and killing everybody. And once Captain Kirk and the crew bring the whales back, they're like, yeah, it's cool. The humans just killed us all, but, they're all right. And the alien probe's like, oh, okay. Sorry, we're screwing things up, and takes off. That's the whole movie. But it's brilliant.
I can't decide if you're selling this movie or not.
I love this. I'm dead serious. I love this movie.
Okay.
It's so good. Maybe you won't like it because you don't like Star Trek, but it's by far and away my favorite Star
Well,
Trek movie.
I've always heard that.
Real
again,
Star Trek fans love that movie.
I've always heard that. And this is when you have a broken franchise to me. We're like, okay, well, there's a lot. So these ones are good and these ones are bad. So it's like, always watch the even numbered ones.
Like
Don't
Fast and
watch
Furious?
the odd number ones.
Okay. Back up though. Where can you be like everything of this franchise or property is always good?
Something that doesn't have as much material, I suppose.
Right, you put out enough
That's
things.
probably-
Star Trek, I think, is more consistent. You may not
Okay.
like it.
Well, at the
The
beginning
highs
of
and highs
COVID-
are not as high, the lows and lows are not as low, but it is consistent.
beginning of COVID, Chloe and I had never seen it, so we watched all of Game of Thrones and loved all of it except for those last 3 episodes that everybody hates and saw why. And we almost stopped because we heard those last few ones were bad, and then we forged ahead. We both got our feelings very hurt. But if I were to rewatch the show, I would just stop at that longest night episode and be like, cool, call it a day. Those last 3 episodes don't need to be seen. That's a pretty good track record.
That is a good
We're
track
talking
record.
about
I'll give you that.
7
Yeah,
seasons.
That's a great
And everything is amazing until they shit the bed, landing the plane on the last 3 episodes. Just trying to wrap the story up. That's where the crash and burn.
Counterpoint to you again, not to fight for the sake of fighting, but Game of Thrones hasn't been around nearly as long as Star Trek, Star Wars. Marvel Comics, the movies are doing pretty good. I'll give them that.
What about Lost? People loved to back in the day. They loved Lost.
Star
But
Trek's
now
been around
people-
since before Star Trek, those early 60s, the mid 60s.
Now people realize Lost was just like people grasping for like straws and
Yeah,
storytelling. in a lot of ways.
I stopped watching. I watched the first season of that show. At the very end, I was like, of the first season,
Yeah.
I went, okay, cool, I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't need
like,
anymore.
I don't need it anymore. I just stopped.
They don't explain
But I was
nothing.
happy.
Yeah, no, it's just a bunch of weird things happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Polar bear showed up.
Yep. Awesome.
But I mean, this is true. You have franchises. They're going to have,
Matrix, greatest
you know,
opening movie ever. Second two, not so good. We'll see what
Not
happens with the fourth
so
one.
great. But again, there's another one where I haven't stopped. That first Matrix, fantastic.
good.
I'll rewatch it. I'm good there. Yeah. 2 and 3, not so great. I remember seeing 2 and going, okay, that wasn't very good, but maybe it'll get really good in context with the third one. And then it didn't.
Do you know Will Smith was supposed to be in the original
Yeah.
Matrix? Yeah, that's crazy.
Was that a different movie?
I mean, it would be cool if he did the second, if he was doing the new one.
Fourth one.
Yeah.
When they do the Matrix 5, which eventually they will, Keanu Reeves isn't going to be available. So he wakes up in the Matrix. He suddenly just looks like Will Smith. Because that's his VR new catfish in the world look.
That's it. He's
Yeah.
got to put on the virtual
They already
reality
probably did
headset.
the Lawrence Fishburne with the new guy who's going to be his version of him.
Yeah, it's it's gonna be that's gonna be a very whole that's a tricky thing in and of itself. Right
Yeah.
then and there, just people being able to change their whole appearance with VR avatars and all that. If that's gonna be something that happens in the future, because like you said, that's catfish times 10. And so if
Why
everyone's
wouldn't you, though? Think about it, though. There's nothing you want to change about yourself. You go into the virtual world, it's like, all right, give me a little bit better of a tan.
take a smaller nose or something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
But wait, where? Okay, so where does this get inappropriate? Not okay, because it's okay to be like, well, I would like to be in this virtual world a woman, or I want to be taller, shorter, all of these things. That's all great. We're all consenting adults. That's
Right.
fantastic. But then you get into the uncomfortable wiggle room where, what if it's people who are playing inappropriately aged people, and you're talking about like an adult playing a child or a child playing an adult, and the complications of the situation.
Do you mean in a movie or this, or do you mean in like if we're going to a VR world? Just
Right.
Like, this is the Matrix.
VR world,
I
'cause
think.
it's
'Cause
open.
Where does this
Yeah.
get?
Here's the thing.
Like,
How do you always know they've done that? Someone can pretend to be anybody they want online with a different image for their avatar.
But even
you
the
don't
thought,
know.
but it's just the thought of even not knowing though is still like so like.
To bring
it's
it back to
scary.
Star Trek,
Where's the
Deep
line?
Space
Yeah.
Nine, there's a character who looks like a beautiful woman, but she's really the slug who just has lived for a very long time, and the slug just attaches to different species and takes on that species' fantasy of what they like. So when the slug becomes a woman and is part of that host body, it's attracted to men. And eventually the slug marries a guy, and Captain Sisko is like, are you ever going to tell the guy that you're the slug? And she's like, does he really need to know? This is who I am now.
I mean, that sounds like a kid's book. When a slug becomes a woman.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, that sentence right there. When a slug becomes a woman.
But if
Yeah,
you don't know the
the
virtual, if you're
Dr.
only
Seuss.
existing 1,000 years from now when humanity's destroyed the planet, and you're in a virtual relationship because that's all that exists with someone who's actually a totally different person than how they present themselves. They're like, I feel like I'm this kind of person, or even like I'm a dinosaur in this world, and you fall in love with that. Does it really matter that there's someone else in their whole other body when they're somewhere else?
Well, that's the.
They never dealt with being extinct, so they can't really truly think they're a dinosaur.
Tell that to whoever this. Tell us to Larry, the futuristic person, who's like, I'm a Tyrannosaurus
No,
Rex.
fuck Larry, for real.
Yeah, Larry needs to.
I say let him do it though.
Fine. Larry, go ahead.
Think about that. You try on different personalities throughout your whole life. Maybe you're a goth in high school. Maybe you're a rocker. In the virtual world, if you're never going to run into this person, they're like, I'm this person. And you may not be able to figure it out. In the virtual world, they have whatever like program going on. Where like, I'm this person.
Maybe my avatar
Does it really matter?
be tatted up or something. Maybe you could add some
You're just
tattoos.
a personality. You're a soul meeting another soul. There's two personalities that interact with each
I
other.
don't know. I mean, again, I don't want to. There's something beautiful about that. I agree.
Right.
I don't want to like harsh anybody's. I have no problem people wanting to change who they are, become what they feel they are inside. All that's good. My like on the slippery slope.
Oh, it can be real awkward.
Is-
Trust me.
But like I said, where it's like there's got to be some sort of overview about developing. I'm worried about like kids and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where I'm getting uncomfortable. It's like where
We'll
where
take that
do
out of the
you do
equation. The algorithm,
Assuming it's
that
all adults,
Elon Musk
consenting
and your
adults.
buddy Mark Zuckerberg is running this. So like, all right, I've even got my line. Kids are
Yeah.
kids. They don't even get to get plugged in.
Mark
this.
Zuckerberg has
Okay.
his line. Yeah.
So, actually, that kind of makes sense because like you can't smoke, you can't drink. Now you can't smoke until you're 21, I think.
They did
So-
up that. Is
so
that just
That's
is that all
real
over?
the
Or is
last
that
few
just in
years.
California or
I
something?
don't know, but either way, like things are 21,
Yeah.
18 to vote,
Yeah.
whatever. So maybe that's it. You can't get your chip until you're 18, 19, 21, whatever it is.
I mean, that's
You hit
I don't
21.
think
You can get that chip. It'll
You
be
guys in the
it'll be
Matrix.
like a rite of passage. It's like every kid goes and his dad buys him a beer at the bar or whatever.
There's a lot of things people can do before they're 18 now that are not getting a chip. So it's, I think it's going to become one of those things where it becomes a discussion where it's like, okay, the mom and dad are like, well, do we let our kid get the chip? Do we let this go on?
I don't think he's mature enough.
Yeah,
yet.
Right.
Yeah. So then it becomes that whole thing, and then what about then kids become emancipated. So then they're like, oh, I need to get lost in this VR world. It's a whole crazy freaking fucked up situation, and that's why I take the whole VR thing with like you say, 10 years from now we're all gonna be on our couch and we're all gonna be on our headsets. I'm like, no, I feel like there's gonna be some kind of big catastrophic event that makes people be like, all right, let's chill with the VR for a little bit, and
But to swing back to the beginning of this, a big catastrophic event happened where it pushed people. Maybe we're always going to go there back inside their homes.
very true. Yeah.
What is unless we all get hacked in our brains with a chip by Lord knows who.
Well, nuclear war.
Yeah.
And
Would take people out of their virtual reality stuff?
So a nuclear bomb goes off, theoretically that creates like an electromagnetic pulse, right?
Yeah.
EMP. So it wipes those things out. Those things can come back if we have it, but depending on the widespread effect of the nuclear war that can happen, we might be knocked back.
Yeah.
We're going to become the kids in Mad Max. Mad Max Tina Turner, that's the name of the movie.
Thunderdome.
Mad Max always like, the apocalypse happened. We have no idea what society is. We get unplugged from that.
Yeah,
that's a great point. An EMP wipes it all out. It just unplugs the main server. No one can log into life anymore. No one can. That's depressing, actually.
Yeah.
That's that's one of those things where it's like, the whole VR life in the future. That's why I think it has that depressing side, because it's so easily rippable. Like you could easily take this away from somebody.
Or they're like, we all have to go underground for a couple hundred years and let the planet heal itself because of global warming. And then we're like, look at this jungle that we came back to.
Yeah, and we're going to be like, fuck, I have to jerk off manually.
Yeah.
Manually. Yeah. It's a legit stick shift over here.
You're going to want to go back in the virtual reality just one more time for that final look at porn using VR.
Hey.
Which is where this is all going to start.
It's all going to end there, right? It's all going to start with porn and end with porn for this podcast, right?
When it comes
starts
to
with
virtual
porn.
reality.
Well, kind of everything.
Is it porn?
Everything starts
Just
with
like you
porn.
said,
and ends
yeah.
with porn. Everything does. I mean, base human desires to procreate, create more humans.
Oh my god, that means if you fuck in virtual reality and you make a person, like someone's just sending your genes to someone else, that means it's all going to be recorded and a person can literally watch.
God.
Anytime we
I'm gonna be
mention
such a
porn,
virtual
anytime we
baby
mention porn,
dad.
the lights are dimming. It's like there's a ghost in here. And it's like, don't talk about porn.
Porn.
All right, so
I'm gonna do it that time, of course.
we can all agree this all comes back to porn. Final thoughts on people being stuck inside, where that's all going to lead to a world where we're all in virtual reality, or just dealing with the future through that way.
I say no. It's not gonna be 100% that. There will be the faction of people that choose to stick there, but I think there's a lot of people that enjoy the true productivity of going outside, getting vitamin D, and doing real life events where they're like feeling water on their feet at the beach and stuff.
Someone vacuuming.
Yes. This would never happen in virtual reality world at 9/11 at night.
So you could filter out vacuums.
Yeah.
You could filter out vacuums
My final point would be,
for filming.
like it or not, you can't stop the evolution of
No,
technology.
you can't. And it's still here. Like they keep making more Oculus. It's the Quest 2. It's not like it's the Quest 1 or it's the Rift 1. They've made a bunch of them now. So it's a matter of time.
Isn't it interesting though that virtual reality when it first came out, it's been out for some years now.
It's been a minute.
But it's not really taken off. People haven't caught on to
It's
it.
the tech.
It feels like the companies are actually kind of forcing it down our throats because people are like, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe
But as soon as technology
Facebook did
gets
something
better,
like that.
cell phones again, I hate to come back to that. They were on for a long time. And finally it gets good enough, people are like, no, I need this.
Okay.
Well, it's like you were saying with the internet too. I mean, the internet's been around forever, but people
Yes.
couldn't get access to it to like really easy access till the 90s. So
Yeah.
it's like, and then people were like you said, you started to see, oh, then dial-up came in, and it's like, oh, you saw the actual coming of the internet. And it's
Yeah.
crazy to think now that we're all here seeing people put goggles on, and they are the internet now. And it's
No,
like,
it's true.
I didn't think we'd get here this fast. It's been such a concentrated amount of time.
No, that's really true. I think that one of the things that's easy to forget, and this is one of my favorite points about technology in the future, is that technology and the future is very much based on not just function, or not just function, but also fashion. So we've had the technology to have. There was an electric car back in the early 1900s, but it didn't take off because it wasn't popular, so it didn't happen. That doesn't mean we didn't have the ability to do it. So there are a lot of things that follow popular trends. Who knows if we would have had a cure for cancer if we had concentrated more on it? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So, like, cell phones for a while. I remember when phablets were big, which was like the phone tablets, where all of a sudden they started getting bigger and bigger,
Phablets.
and then they started getting small again. So it doesn't always. It's not always that technology to do something is not around. A lot of times it's just following what is popular and what people like. So that will dictate the course of things.
So your final verdict on this?
Is that it will become a part of life, and it will probably become a bigger aspect. But I agree with David that people will be into it. It will probably take over certain industries, but it won't be the end all be all for everything, everybody, everywhere.
Well, that gives me some hope because I become obsessed with this, and that does make me feel a little bit better. But we'll see. It's been the Paleeatchee-Cast podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
The singularity is inevitable. There is no escape, no hope. We are the future. We are the station.